Sophia, what's up?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. Same old thing. Another wonderful Saturday. Man, last weekend
Saturday.
show, we had to do a part two of this Manosphere because we got like 1,500 viewers already, which is really, phenomenal for this small channel. But so it apparently touched an interest. And so I thought, let's expand a little bit. We're going to talk about, especially with Andrew Tate in the news now, and we'll explore a little bit more Andrew Wilson and Marquette respectively. And so I'm ready to get into it. What's up, Dave? I see you, man. I
Hey,
see you, sir.
Dave.
Don't be a simp. Are you a real man, Dave? I'm not a real man, apparently. I have a lot of people telling me I'm not a man.
And apparently I'm a man in disguise, y'all.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, man. So where shall we start? I'm thinking, do you want to talk a little bit about stuff and set it up, or do you want to go right into videos, or what's on your mind, Sophia? By the way, Bryce is going to join us. We're just waiting for him to show up.
I don't have a whole lot on my mind at this moment, so if you want to just do your presentation like you were going to do it, and we just give our commentary or whatever. I mean, yeah, let's go from there.
Cool.
Thanks, Dave. You are as well, sir.
Dave is a wonderful person. I'm going to put the link up in the live chat because I want call-ins for folks that want to challenge or have their own thoughts on all of this stuff. Meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and play this one video from Andrew Wilson. And this talks about abortion. It's just to get a feel for how these guys, what their view is, how they talk and everything like that. And I want to just break down a little of the psychology behind all of this stuff and see where they're wrong, where their points are good, where they're bad. And we can talk about that after these videos briefly before we go on to different ones, because we got plenty. So I'll go ahead and look at this.
That's my wife in the truck right there.
Yeah.
14 million views as of this morning, if you can believe that. The comments are exactly what you'd think they are.
Yeah.
So I let her take the truck.
This conversation is a perfect example of how modern feminist arguments work. Not through evidence, not through coherent moral reasoning, but through vibes.
Let's get to it.
Strengths compared. There's no real historical consensus that Einstein's discoveries were all his wife's. And even if we said that's true, it doesn't prove
can do that a man can't.
But you came from us, so how would
what does
you
that
guys
have to
be
do with
here
anything?
without our reproduction?
I also came from the reproductive genetic material of my father. Or did you think that women unilaterally got pregnant? Do you think that they unilaterally get pregnant just on their own? They're asexual, snap their fingers and become pregnant, or does it require male genetic material?
Wait, let's slow down for a second. Let's tackle a couple of claims before we move on. The breastfeeding
kind of
thing,
a bad video.
that's nourishment.
It's actually not the one I wanted. Damn it. I'm all unorganized already.
Damn, Scott, get together now.
I know, man. It's like when the time comes to bring it all up. Hold on. Jesus. But in the meantime, while I'm trying to figure all this out, what do you think, man? What do you think the psychology is behind all of this manosphere stuff, just from your own take?
Well, it's just the patriarchy at work. And I think it's just basically a way to use women as scapegoats, reduce them to servants. And then the man has the right to do whatever he wants. And it's because those type of males are emotionally immature. They're still little boys. And so that way they have all the power and they can do what they want. That way they don't have to have real committed. They don't have to make real commitments, so to speak. Because, the way these guys put it, If you're a woman, you shouldn't be in the public. If you're a woman, you shouldn't be an expert or go to school or get educated or any of those things. Because according to these males, men have the highest IQs. And so since they have the highest IQs, what a woman has to say is never valid or more valid than what a man has to say. So when you completely strip a woman of any type of importance other than, you know, being a servant, that means you are in full control, all powerful, and you can do whatever you want. You can be done with that woman and blame her for it. You know, we see this in some cultures in Islam where a man can just say, hey, she cheated on me, and then she's stoned to death because he said so, you know, where a woman has absolutely no power. So as long as we can be their scapegoats, they have all the power. So what that really comes down to is narcissism. These Machiavellian types, they need to use someone else as a container for their toxicity. So as long as women are there to absorb that, they thrive, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to tell us, don't educate yourself. Psychology's bullshit. These women can't be healed. They're all broken. They need to be led. They need to be told what to do. They're dumb. Their IQ is lower, blah, 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 blah. Because they need us to thrive. They need us to continue to be that container that absorbs their toxicity. Simple as that. But see, they also need us for the practical reasons, to cook, to clean, to do all of that. It's basically like a teenager looking for a mother that does everything for them, you know, all the practical household things. And that's all they fucking care about. They're just little boys who want to perpetually play with their toys. And no one to answer to, you know, no one to really truly commit to. And if you get out of line, oh, I'll get me another woman. I'll get me another woman. And they just replace you. It's little boys. They're little boys. Because real commitment takes hard work. It means going through hard times together. It means doing the emotional work on yourself and within the relationship. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that.
You
They're just
know,
big narcissists.
from my experience, just as a young, dumb boy growing up and then becoming a responsible man, accountable and everything like that, and then going into being single again and everything, the one thing that I reflect on, that the lesson that I can learn from all of that stuff is that, you know what, everybody, you know, a lot of men, they like having one woman, but they don't like having one woman, if that makes sense. A lot of men, they have a natural drive. This is this unconscious, maybe subconscious drive that's in our bodies and genes and everything else that says, you know what, you need to procreate with as many women as you can. That's like the evolution story, right?
Is
like,
that really true, though?
I don't know, but you know, that would be a whole other show to look at it itself. But there's a lot of stuff that says, you know what, there's two things going on at the same time. There's this drive for men to initiate relationships, sexual relationships with the opposite sex. They just have that drive, for example. But they also have this drive to be a leader in the household, raise a family, and all of that. So they've got this contradictory sort of drives playing out at the same time. So, you know, instead of men just growing up and realizing that and maybe waiting until they're ready to have a relationship, until they've gotten over a lot of their, you know, sexual drives, you know, hormones are a bitch, you know, and over time, you can relax on that as a man, you relax in that thirstiness, so to speak, because of that sex drive. It's so strong for a teenage boy and somebody in their young 20s. But oftentimes they want sex. The only way they can get sex is to coerce this one girl woo this one girl. And so just out of, for a lot of men, not everybody, but some men just out of, this is what I'm going to settle with because it's all I've got. It doesn't say that they're a really good man. It just says that, hey, he settled because he pretty much knew he wasn't going to have a chance to have sex again with another woman for a long time. So I'm just going to stay with this woman and keep her on a string so that she can satisfy my needs. So psychologically, they're playing a game. They're playing a game with the woman. So a lot of these people become simpy. They become whatever the woman wants. I'm going to do it because it means that's going to be my sex. I got to keep that on board at all times. Or other people want to control women, and they'll use a different tactic. They'll start dominating them.
Yeah, but that's called objectifying women, and that has absolutely no substance. And if that type of male could, woo a different chick, he would drop the first one for that.
Right.
I mean, it has no substance. But and a guy that's in the manosphere would tell you, figures like Marquette or Andrew Tate, they would say it's all about money. If you have money, if you can afford to take care of all your children and all those women, it's perfectly fine. Because what do you have to complain about if you're living in a nice house? What do you have to complain about if you're driving a nice car? So in other words, they've reduced women to objects, or things to collect. They're like objects. That's all it is.
All it is control mechanism. So in other words, men will, if they have money, if they're lucky enough to be successful, most young men today are not. They're trying, and a lot of men are out here just living paycheck to paycheck. For those kind of guys, they can't use money to control women. It's not something they can control. But what they will do is they'll use their strength. Maybe they'll use their fear. Maybe they'll try to intimidate.
In other words, they're abusive.
They're abusive. Or they'll get with a woman who, to them, they have money. Like, maybe a guy working at freaking a restaurant.
They'll exploit any kind of weakness they can exploit. It can be something as simple as you needing your car fixed, and the mechanic will exploit you. Any opportunity to exploit is what those types will use.
Exactly. And so, as a young guy, I didn't have confidence as a young man. And so I was with one woman, but my woman knew I didn't have confidence. So she knew how to push my buttons, how to get her way, and simp me out as a young man. So what did I do? I didn't want to feel like a simp. So I just lashed out in anger and violence, hit the walls, leave the house in a rage or whatever, those sort of things. Right. All of this is the result of confusion. Yeah. So
are you telling me you used to be Alex?
I used to be like that. Yeah, of course. I think a lot of that's the danger with. See, I think the number one threat to women is men. I think men do a lot of damage to women because men are very emotional. They're overly emotional. They don't know how to handle their emotions, so they go to violence, and they go to control, try to control people. Nobody takes the time to grow up and self-reflect and become a student of life. Too many people are trying to control life, and so they try to control other people. That's really what it means. Can't control people at your job. You can't control people in many aspects of life. But you can control your woman at home because she's weaker and you can scare her possibly. Or maybe you have money. You can control her by withholding to pay the bills or something she needs. You know what I mean? Like there's so many ways that men do this. And I guess all I'm really saying is that the manosphere works because they play off that psychology. They play off weak men, usually very young men who haven't even figured themselves out, in order to make them feel like real men. And so they become these self-help thought leaders, like cult leader personalities. And they know all the tricks to get in, to feel good, to listen to them, to buy their books in their seminars and this kind of shit. But, you know, I guess my message is stay away from that poison. It's just easy to sell poison rather than real food, you know?
Yeah.
And that's
But
really
those things are changing. Women are not going for that anymore. And this is why the manosphere is losing it. That's why they're, kicking it up a notch with figures like Marquette, who literally says out loud that he's here to force women back into their place. And I'm like, okay, good luck with that, you delusional prick.
right.
And then it's so funny to me how they always advertise the money, right? It's all about the money. If you got money, you got hoes, blah, blah, blah. But then they also cry on camera about how women only want them for their money. I'm like, little boys, they're little boys.
Hey, Dave, you're on stage now. You said you had something you wanted to share, and we'll get into the video. But go ahead, my friend. How you doing today, Dave?
Hey, Dave, we don't hear you. Okay, he dropped off.
All
Scott,
right.
why don't you start with the little short clips and stuff,
Oh, you want to look at that first?
so we don't trail off too much.
Okay, sure. Let me do that.
Unless you can find your clips that you were gonna.
Well, yeah, I had that clip ready. What did you want to play? Because I was going to go do it this way. I was going to try to do Andrew Wilson first, and Andrew Tate follows right into it. There's a little flow to it. But let me bring Dave up. He's back.
Howdy,
Hey,
howdy.
Dave.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me explain what I'm trying to say here. Let me say what I want to say. Women have a power over me that I can't control. Women fire buttons in my head, and they actually force me to turn. They seize my attention. I can't control it. I am powerless at my initial interaction with a woman who may not even know I'm there, probably doesn't know I'm there. And that's what's scary. That's the scariest part
Yeah, that
of
sounds
being
pretty
a guy.
creepy, Dave.
What?
That sounds pretty creepy.
Yeah, it is. And that's one of the reasons men have trouble saying these things. That's one of the reason men try to exercise authority over women, is simply because a woman's physical shape is designed to trigger a circuit in my brain that I have to react to. And regardless of what my thought happens to be, I have to react to that thought, and then I can go on with whatever I was doing. But something in part of my brain fires and says, "Look at that body," and I can't change that. There's no way for me to change that. And that is a scary thing for me, or it's a wonderful thing for me. It is so many things, but it's out of my control at the
Just use
initial
your
point.
free will. That's why you have free will.
Well, I would say this. I
Well,
think
it's
it's
the
normal to
next
have
step.
a biological attraction to the opposite sex. That's definitely biological. At the same time, we must remember we also have a sort of a higher agency than, let's say, my dog. All right. With that being said, you do actually have a lot more control, because my dog has no control. If he sees a female out there that's, in heat, he will stop eating. He will bark and whine for 2 weeks straight and literally go into depression, stop eating, and just mope around. And he will do that until he loses the scent of that female. And he has absolutely zero control over that. And I really feel so bad for him because he's not fixed. And I need to get him fixed, because it's just the most awful thing to watch. Makes me feel sorry for him. But I don't think that a human male goes through the exact same thing. I think there is a small component that's comparable, but at the end of the day, your conscious mind supersedes that, right?
Right.
And
I agree.
I think
I agree
practice
entirely.
I
I'm
think
just
practice makes perfect, right? So if a man practices discipline and is taught that, especially throughout his puberty years and things like that, you know what I mean? Once you learn that discipline, it's flying colors. I mean, do you think that women don't have things that they're naturally prone to that we have to keep in check? I think we all do as human beings, right?
Well, there's a fundamental difference in the way women behave and men behave. Women, by their very physical structure, are more in tune with the idea of acting in a family way. Men, 95% of species are tournament behavior. They need to infer they need to 95% of species must fertilize as many females as they can in terms of evolutionary push. Only 5% are designed for cooperative behavior or evolved towards cooperative behavior, which is family based. All women, though, in all species, all females in all species, must have some form of family component. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. Okay, that it just doesn't exist without mating. So pair bonding has always been there, and I'm simply saying that that one moment of lack of control is a factor in how my psychology uses it. That it is a. I mean, I'm 70 years old and I still get the same reaction. It's not as strong, but it's definitely there. And I'm simply saying that men who are not self-confident are going to lash out and try to control the situation. Men who are confident, on the other hand, don't lash out as much to
So
control
let me
that
ask you this,
situation.
Dave. Let me ask you this. When you say the men that are confident don't lash out like that, what is it that makes them confident? Is it the confidence in them, in their own self-control, or how would you describe that confidence? What is that confidence?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you have to be raised properly in your formative years, in your in your adolescence. You've got to be acquainted. You got to go up Matt Erickson's stages of development, psychological stages of development, essentially. And I think that's more important than anything else. Other than that, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know squat. I just know that that what I'm saying is true, and it seems to be the pattern that I observe. I am no psychologist, and I don't know anything much more than that.
Well, I have my beliefs. I think that biology does create, and this is kind of what I was getting at, is that biology creates tendencies, but they're not necessarily fixed like destinies. So like men also have strong caregiving capacities, and fathers can develop deep nurturing bonds. I did with my children and my ex-wife. And, but at the same time, we have psychological research showing that women score somewhat higher on measures of empathy, compassion, agreeableness, cooperation. Women, showing greater interest on average in those sort of interpersonal relationships and caregiving, like professions, like being a nurse, being, a doctor, things like that. Women are really good with that sort of line of work because of their nature. And men pretty much show a higher interest in things like systems or abstract objects and thoughts and ideas and things like that. So, there's culture also kind of shaping those patterns as well, Dave. Like,
I agree entirely. I agree entirely.
The only thing I want to say is what we're talking about here are biological predispositions. That's what we're talking about. And I want to make this clear. Everyone has those, including females. Yep. I'll take my family, for example. Biologically, I have predispositions to diabetes and alcoholism because both of my parents were alcoholics. And, just because I have those predispositions, though, doesn't mean I have to become my parents. So what part of you, right, that exists also exists. Okay, well, let me rephrase that. Is there anything more to you than your biological predisposition? I would argue yes, it is, because if there wasn't, you would automatically fall into those predispositions. Because how else do you think evolution happens? How else do you think that we progress and improve and all those things if it's not actually something more in you that overcomes those things? You know, anytime that I felt like I wanted to drink, I would tell myself, no, I don't need to be doing that, because my mom was an alcoholic, my dad was an alcoholic. But when I was younger, I struggled with that. But as I got older, I started practicing discipline and told myself, no, I'm not doing that. Same with diabetes. Once I understood that that shit runs in my family, I started to change my diet. I started to do things differently so that it can become normal for me not to practice the same things they did, so I don't end up the same way. You know, so I'm just saying, like, everyone has these predispositions. Everyone has them. And if we sit here and say, oh, well, it's because of our biological predisposition, then we will always stay stuck at the same spot where we're at. We'll never truly evolve or become stronger. You know what I mean? So if there's something more to you than your biological predisposition, then that is just an excuse. You know?
I agree. I agree entirely. The question is how you set up. How does that biological predisposition first manifest itself in your head, and then how does your mind deal with it? And of course, those are all questions for psychologists.
I guess it would be manifested as urges that we have, right? Urges.
Right. And that's, again, why I push toward that dualism I keep pushing, because those urges come from that side of us that is hunger, that is that secondary kind.
And the urges are there, and no one's saying they're not there. You know, I don't think that I would have a problem in my relationship with my guy looking at another woman and recognizing that she's beautiful. That would be asinine, you know. But it's what he does after that. Is he going to ruminate on that, and is he going to try to contact her behind my back? Is he going to try to cheat on me? Like, it just depends on what he does with it. But simply having the appetite, I don't think that's wrong. And we all have that, right?
I agree.
You can acknowledge that, but it's what you do after. So let me ask you this: Are you a married man? If that's okay to ask.
Yeah, I've been married 40 years.
And did you keep your urges under control during your marriage?
More or less, yes. More or less.
Dave, you's being a bad boy now.
He's a bad boy.
I'm human. I'm human, and to not react under certain conditions and not go further than just a look is a part of communication, is the part of flow of time. Am I perfect? Hell no. Would
you say that you over time mastered those urges?
Yeah. I can honestly say that I have. What's the honest truth? Other than once, I have never had an indiscretion. I think I did one night.
Well, you did great then.
Well, that was it. Yeah, I couldn't live with myself after that. So I have never since.
So you're living proof, Dave. You're proving my point. It's doable, right?
Oh yeah, it's entirely doable. But I wanted to make sure that we saw that there are two sides here.
Yes.
First side is the physical urges. The second side is how the mind chooses to deal with it. My executive function is different than how the rest of my brain works. Do I know any other parts of my brain? I know some names, but am I sure what they actually do? No. But I know that comes from a different part of my brain other than my pure executive function. My pure executive function is my will, is my mind, is my ability to do anything I want. it is a massive thing. But as compared to, a tree, or even many forms of animals. I've been just reviewing, for example, the 5 levels of senses that Janists have, and I think they make some sense. They meet observation, and it makes a lot. It seems to be true, and I'm just simply saying that both sides are always there, and how we react. But we have to react as opposed to initially act. A man's programmed to react first before acting because of the way we're built.
Right. Yeah. And I appreciate that.
My point though, Dave, in bringing up my own story was just to say that if you're coming from a place where you have no information and all you have is those urges, and you're just a young man who's been taught that don't let anybody stop you from doing what you want, otherwise you're not a man. So when I have these urges and I want to act on my urges, what's stopping me? Oh, this woman is stopping me. Right? That's the way you're going to look at it because you're ignorant.
Yeah.
You have no information. My father never told me anything about any of this. They didn't care to talk about that. I wasn't, I guess, part of a parent's job apparently back then. So what is a young boy left with? He's left with dirty magazines he reads. He's left with what he hears on the street with his friends who brag about all the women they bagged every day. And
so he's left with only a tournament choice.
And
he must be a winner or a loser, right?
Yeah, and then you start, that's the way that the dualistic world works. They start to label you. Well, these people are winners because they get to do what they want, and you are a loser because you can't do what you want, can you? You're letting you're letting this other woman make you less than a man. Because if you were a real man, you'd get up and go screw all the women you want. And see, and unfortunately, that's the mentality young people have, even back when I was a kid. That's the mentality. And this manosphere teaching is pretty much just more of that. It's just more of saying, don't be a simp, get you multiple wives, or keep your woman in check, keep her down. Do what you want to do.
Or even take it by force.
And a lot of them
go so far as to say that a girl is a woman when she chooses to, have sex, even if she's underage. There are a lot of things with this whole manosphere shit that basically just disregards a woman's will. 100%.
Yeah, and they use the exact argument that you're making, Dave. They use that same thing. Oh, it's biology, dude. Don't you get it? That's not like my feelings or my opinion. That's like science. Science says men are supposed to go have sex with all the women they want. So when you're not doing that, you're going against science. They don't have the nuanced view like what Sophia laid out. That we're more than just a biological function. We have, and we can change and transcend it, but we just need the right information. And unfortunately, the manosphere is only going to give you one side of the information. They may mix in a little truth with it, but that's what makes it dangerous. They have enough information that's true, but it's all disguised in a bunch of alpha male bullshit.
Yeah. So have you looked at the Japanese method of raising their kids? The Japanese seem to have a better system than we do. And their kids are much better adjusted by the time they get to the age where these become serious questions. Yeah. So I would, instead of arguing about how bad we are, because we're a done deal, as far as I can tell.
I don't know, Dave.
Look and see what's good.
That's the whole thing. That's part of it. The manosphere wants you to believe that, Dave.
Yeah. So
they want you to believe we're a done deal.
That's why I'm suggesting
They are therefore the arbiters of truth. And what we're trying to say here, Dave, is that it is not a done deal. We just need to be as vigilant as they are at putting out correct information.
Well, I have no issue with that. What I'm simply saying is, instead of just putting out correct information, let's look at fully developed systems that have actually dealt with the problem and have come up with good resolutions.
Well, in the show, that's what I intend to do. I've got a whole show lined up for that.
Okay, then I should shut up.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start it off. I'm going to go ahead and play this video, and we'll get you guys' reaction. Hold on just a second.
Preference.
So my preferences again? So it's just what I prefer again? So if it's just my preferences versus your preferences.
Well, what I'm saying is that you can't claim that like morality should be based off the Bible and not our preferences.
I'm not making the claim that it should.
Well, you're saying that yours should be, but ours shouldn't be based off of our preferences.
Let's just say for a second that I agree. Me wanting to institute like biblical values is just a preference. Okay. So what have we established now? What do we establish now?
You personally are basing your morals off of the Bible, right?
Sure.
Those are your preferences.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
If you
and
think
yours
that
are,
is valid
and yours are.
What I'm saying is,
yours are.
In my opinion, not my preferences, but by your definition,
how could they not be your preferences?
By your definition, we're both going off preferences. So why are mine less valid than yours? Even
they're
if I
not.
don't believe that.
That's the beautiful thing. They're not. So if it's the case that a bunch of people share the same collective intuition that I do in my preference to fucking enslave all women, then tell me why they're wrong.
What? Because it is.
Hang on. I want you to listen to what I just said.
Yes.
If you got a preference and I got a preference, she got a preference and her got a preference, is her preference better than yours?
I think that preferences can be harmful for society.
That's
or
nice.
Better
That's
for
nice.
Society.
That's
Can you stop it real
repeat
quick?
my question.
Yep.
He's very slick. I already know what he's doing, and she's unfortunately not responding the way she could. Because having a preference is one thing, but like we just discussed, acting on it, how you act on it is the problem. So the question is, does my preference hurt you or in any way affect you? If I was a lesbian or a gay male, you know what I'm saying? But when you say that all women should be, what did he say, enslaved?
Enslaved.
That is a direct action against women. Like, what a goofball. Like, he really thinks these arguments are fucking smart. Go ahead.
Yeah, he said, well, that's just my preference. And if you get to have your preference, why is my preference, you see?
Yeah, and my preference is that dudes like you can get a cap busted up in their ass. So let's roll the flip.
What if my preference is to whoop your ass?
Are her preferences better than mine?
Are they?
I truly do believe some preferences are better than others. Yes.
Is that your preference?
You love this word. I don't think it actually means anything. Like, it can be a preference. Okay, sure.
It's things which you prefer.
Sure. Honestly, let's meet in the middle ground. It's a preference. Why does that make it any less valid? Preferences are important.
Totally agree.
And some are more valid than others.
That is awesome. So then it is the case then that if we all just have preferences.
No, some are more valid than others.
Okay, what makes them that other than your preference?
I do not think the betterment of society is a preference.
Well, okay, what else is it?
What are you mean?
Just concepts.
Okay, here's what I mean. And hang on. Here's what I mean.
Yes.
What else could what you want for society being more valuable than what he wants be anything other than a preference? That's what I mean.
Okay, if he wants the downfall for society and I want society to thrive,
yeah,
I personally do think
your preference
that the
is I personally think sounds like a preference.
It's just sounding like, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Sounds a lot like what I prefer.
What I'm saying to you is that you are more than welcome to call it a preference. I honestly don't care. But
I know that my question is, what else is it?
If it's not a preference, I do believe that genuinely the goal of society, it's not a preference, but like our goal is to, it's like the way that human.
This lady's kind of gibbering all over the place. And
that's because
she's not making a good point.
It's because these guys, like these kind of guys, they put you in a corner and they keep coming at you, and then it's like they're putting you on a hot seat and interrogating you, and it makes it's rapid fire. What they call that tactic? I don't know.
Yeah, Gish Gallop.
Yeah, and that's why he throws people off like that, man. But you just
Well, he's trying to capture. He's putting her in a corner.
Yeah.
So he's gotten her to agree that we all have preferences, and she's making a preference. So if preferences are just preferences, then why can't I have the preference of women should be enslaved? And she's like, well, because my preference is better than yours.
Right.
And he's asking her, well, how can you say your preference is better? Because that in itself is a preference. That's what a preference is.
But enslavement and actually enacting that on someone else, it's not just a preference. That's an action against someone else.
Aren't you both talking?
Yeah, one second. I'll just say this, and I'll take it to you, Dave. I would say, my opinion, the way to argue with that is to say, well, is your preference to live in a peaceful society or one that's not peaceful?
People have tried that with you.
Yeah, because we have data that says that the reason slavery doesn't work is because it always leads to slave revolts. It leads to war. It leads to rebellions, all kinds of societal problems. And so do you want a society that's full of problems or not? Well, then in that case, slavery for women is bad. We can all agree. So that's how I would go about it. But that's just me. But go ahead, Dave.
Well, the default in Western society is that morality is something that is our ability to tell good from bad, right from wrong, and how it influences our self-interest. That's it. In other societies, morality is good from bad, right from wrong, and self-interest as compared to outward interest. If you don't have outward interest as a major factor in your philosophy, then there is no choice in the society other than what is self-interest. And that always means gain. That always means tournament. That always means winners and losers. So that's where we are in this country.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is, how do you add that component of outward concern? Okay? How do you add that component of outward concern? And it's simply not in our society. And it's because we always boil down to one central idea as opposed to two central ideas. That's it.
Yeah, it's you know, for me, it's just ignorance and people being sold based on how they feel about certain kinds of information as opposed to others. And unfortunately, that's the society we live in, and that's part of the problem. And that's why we need more, you know, open dialogue shows like this, where we can actually talk about these things and discover them, and hopefully have people who disagree come on, and let's have that conversation. It's very important. And it's not like we want to hide from the objections. That's the number one mistake you can make, is to straw man people and not understand the other person's position, because that's going to be getting in the way of establishing some common truth, right? But can
we just substitute this notion of sexuality for the same thing in politics? It's the same thing in taxes. It's the same thing in the way we interact in many areas, because we have no sense of the value of government. We have
Also,
no sense of the value of society in this society.
Also, I think a big problem is greed, because let's face it, this all comes down to greed. It's never enough. It's greed. Exactly. And that has to be dealt with a little bit. But the point is that it's not just sexuality that follows this pattern. It's the same pattern in most everything that influences everything important in our lives that might be something other than self-interest. Because we don't see anything other than self-interest in Western society.
Yeah, because it's very dualistic. It's all about self versus the other.
Disciplined greed. I'm trying to tell y'all.
It's self versus the other. I want more things than the competition. You know, like that bumper sticker says, whoever dies with the most toys wins.
That's winners and losers.
Winners and losers. You want to have, you're in a hierarchy. It's all based on hierarchies. And that's very, very divisive and dichotomous.
But
anyway,
what's interesting is without their toys, without their technology, without this fake sense of control, you place one of those guys in, let's say, the middle of the Amazon, and we will see how superior they are.
Right.
It will all fall apart within 24 hours. You know,
the illusion is strong. I'm going to go ahead and play this. This is a video where Andrew Wilson was on the Piers Morgan show. So a lot of these Manosphere thought leaders do have a big reach because they're on so many platforms. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. But here's him talking about boss culture.
As to what personally is best for you.
The Andrew Tate fallacy.
Julie,
moving over to Andrew Tate is evil and a representation of men who believe in a patriarchal system. Here's the truth. The truth of the matter is that we should be doing for society what is socially good for society. If we can't reproduce our society, that's a really bad social ill for society. When you have propaganda that is telling women to go get useless degrees in psychology and sociology. Yeah, that's great.
It's actually
hang on. There's Andrew quickly. Kelly a covert feminist then?
Not covert, overt. She's an overt feminist. Covert's out for Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly came out and said women should be prioritizing career over family. That's what Matt Walsh's issue was with her, and he's absolutely right. The guy struck it out of the ballpark. Socially, in society, we should be moving women into a familial role. It's not to say that women can't work. Nobody's saying women can't work. We're just saying that if you're going to glorify things in society, it should be the mother in the intact home and the wife and the caretaker at home, not the girl boss. That's insane.
But, you know, studies show that women on average make the best leaders, actually. I went and looked this up to try to find out if what he was saying is factual. And he's saying most women that do take the leadership roles end up being better leaders than their male counterparts. So that's debatable, at least. You know, it's not just this is what I say about the Manosphere. They make these statements and everybody on the panel just kind of agrees with them, but nobody's really pushing back on these little points he's assuming and sneaking in. These are little sneaky assumptions that he's hoping everybody just goes along with, and they do, because most people naturally, intuitively feel that, oh yeah, men are always better leaders, you know. But is that really true? And those are the things I'm talking about. We should really talk about those things, because that's part of what they thrive on, is this misinformation. If it's misinformation, that is, you know.
I mean, if men are such great leaders, right, by default, why are they 80% responsible for all the violence in the world? Why are we still today blowing each other up? I mean, look at these wars. Look at Israel and Palestine, and look at all these things that are happening in the world. And why is it always war? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the evidence speaks for itself. And there are matriarchal communities, and have been since the beginning of time. And they worked out perfectly well. So I don't know. I don't think we can sit here and say that automatically males are better leaders.
Right.
I think it's false as well.
And Brute Facts Podcast says, not surprising, my manager for the last 5 years was a woman and was a great leader. Her manager, director of USA service, is a very effective manager and leader. And, you know, I've unfortunately had some very terrible female leaders recently. But, you know, I've also had really good female leaders. In fact, the one that I had before this other lady I'm referring to was an extraordinary leader, very knowledgeable, very patient, very emotionally intelligent, was able to sit down and talk to me and really found out what the root of my problems were at work. And then she was very supportive. When she found out after meeting with me and talking in depth, she was like, oh, I see what's going on, Scott. And she was very empathetic to my situation. and she was my advocate. She was trying to get me to take action on some things that were going on because she was a good leader. She actually, as it turned out, you know what? She actually saw some things I didn't see. And actually what happened to me in my own personal situation was the result. And my friend Tony told me, said it was because you didn't listen to her. If you'd have listened to her, you wouldn't be in this situation. And actually, although I don't like that, because
keep scratching that forehead.
But yeah, you know, it's like, actually though, if I'm really going to be honest, I think she was probably onto something. And she probably saw some things I didn't see. In fact, I think I know she did. And I'm kind of kicking myself today that I didn't listen to her as a leader. I didn't listen to her, not because she was a woman. I just thought maybe she's blowing it out of perspective, because at the time I didn't see all the things she was seeing coming together. But, you know, that's just an example. So I agree with you, man. You can have good female leaders. You just have to listen to them, though. At least it's not as cut and dry as men are better leaders, more to do with the person. Right, exactly.
I agree. That's why I said, like, there are places where women lead and it's perfectly fine. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, we're human beings, whether we're male or female. We have good male leaders, good female leaders, and also bad ones. But overall, I think we can safely say, by having this attitude that only males can lead and males have been mostly in power, I think that the evidence is there that a lot of them are not actually great leaders, because look at the state of the world.
Right. Ran by men.
Yeah.
Let me keep on this video.
Societal death sentence. Walsh knows it. Everybody knows this at this point. If you can't reproduce your own nation, you don't have a nation.
Do you know how...
Okay, Julie, you wanted to jump in there.
I mean, do you know how insecure and pathetic you sound? You can't take you seriously.
Eat another donut, lady.
I'll just finish.
Why did I know he was going to do that? Why did I know that?
Yeah. Did you?
How did I know that? It's before he even said it, I was going to say, you know, a guy like Marquette would immediately attack her for being overweight. And then before I could even finish that thought, he told her, eat another donut. Is that all these dudes have?
Yeah, well, that's their evidence. that's their argument.
And the sad part is, this is an older lady, you know, and he doesn't understand metabolism. So whatever, man. I'm not even entertaining that. I'm not falling for that trap.
No, fuck that, man. That's what they do. This is how you know they're not sincere, folks. For you guys out there that follow this manosphere bullshit, pay attention to this stuff. They always resort to personal ad hominem attacks because it's all they got. It's an appeal to emotion. They try to get you to laugh with them.
It's so childish, though. This is a grown-ass man with a fucking beard covering 50% of his face, and he's supposed to be so fucking manly, and that's the best he has. What a bitch-made ass.
Yeah, he's a real tough guy, isn't he?
You're some big shock jock, and I know that you're desperately trying to be relevant, but you sound so insecure and so pathetic. You are
Do you have an
irrelevant.
argument? Can you put the Duncan down for a second and give me an argument? Do you have an argument? Or is it just
Sorry, I
Andrew
haven't heard
Bad?
one from you.
Yes, I've given you multiple arguments for the social fabric of all of society and how we can improve it, what we need to be doing, what we need to be moving towards. I gave you all the stats. I gave you argument after argument. Can you give me a single argument?
All the stats. You are the oracle. You know all about the universe and what's going to progress humankind.
Amen, Joel.
You're just
It's not,
it's
not psychic ability.
You're just pathetic. Nobody's going to listen to you. You're an aggressive, insecure man.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
We're not taking you seriously.
Well, this is going to go viral, and a lot of people are going to take me seriously, and all they're going to remember is that I told you that you couldn't put down the Dunkin' Donuts long enough to make an argument.
So that's the whole thing right there.
So that's the third time he had to bring that Dunkin' Donut out. That's what I really wanted to bring out with that video, is they will oftentimes resort to just like Joel said, tearing down women's self-esteem in order to garner or make their followers happy or get more followers or whatever. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do. And a lot of times they look like fucking scarecrows, let's face it. The main one that's trying to tear down your self-esteem, looking like who done it. Go sit your ass down, you ugly ass.
And then I've got two more to show with Andrew Wilson, then we'll move on to Tate. But I wanted to do this one and the other one with Matt Dillahunty. I think you'll like this. I want people to really just pay attention to just how they argue and, who they are and how they use, facts and figures and statistics. They try to make it seem like they're the logical mind in the room, like they're the voice of reason. But it's all just, it's only effective to people that are not observant and that are just more interested in the emotional kicks, not the substance of argument. That's really what I'm trying to point out. Try to be a little, and it goes for everybody. It's not just me, it's everybody, of course. But let me go ahead and share this one. This one is about him triggering a feminist and trying to explain her own study to her that she was trying to present. And this also is a heads up to people who face people like this to know what their talking points are. You don't want to walk into these debates blindfolded, because sometimes they're just not prepared.
So I very briefly referenced the McKinsey study, and McKinsey and Company's Women in the Workplace study, by the way, is what he's referring to. But it's actually, if you go and look it up, it's generally considered accurate and comprehensive in its findings. So I have quite literally no idea what my opponent is talking about, as well as the fact that this is a red herring fallacy of just, this is wrong and my opponent is wrong for the following reasons.
How's that a red herring?
Because you're not actually acknowledging any of the information that I said.
I refuted the information.
I didn't even hardly talk about that.
I have refutations to your video. Okay. I have your video right here. And you start by saying the largest comprehensive study, the Kinsey study.
Which one are you talking about?
I'll play it for you. Give me a second here.
Okay. Well, I think we should stick to what we're talking about today.
We're talking about all of this today. So
well, I would like you to be less hostile to me, first of all, because I think we should just have a general discussion.
Stop whining. We're doing a debate.
Stop.
So
I'm not going to give you the reaction that I know you're looking for.
Yeah. So women are better leaders than most. Do you agree?
Yes. I was looking at that video. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like one of the ones that.
And you cite which study?
Oh, yeah, the one that I'm talking about now. But I didn't reference that in my opening at all. So I think the people in the audience, if they had any sort of common sense following along, they'd be like, what is he talking about? Kylie didn't mention that, which I didn't.
But the thing is like, this is a current core part of your worldview and belief, and you make propaganda videos about it, even though it's completely uninformed.
That women are better leaders. I think that is a subjective opinion. None of the statistics and facts that I gave previously are objective opinions. Like the fact that women didn't have the right to vote until 1920. Women couldn't open a bank account in the United States till 1974.
When did men get the right to vote?
Okay, I know this is exactly what you were talking about. This is what you're known for, is like getting people on a technicality that we don't historically know. But the answer to that is no. The answer to that
the answer is that's no.
No, the answer to that is the fact that in 1920, everyone was given the right to vote, but there were still barriers to vote for people of color.
When did men get the right to vote?
The right to vote was guaranteed to all people in 1920, according to the 19th Amendment.
Before 1920, were all men allowed to vote?
No.
Okay, great.
They weren't.
And then when men's
because
suffrage
of white
was passed,
supremacy and because our system was not founded equally.
Are you aware that men only got any rights to vote about a decade, roughly, before women?
That is not true. Men have been the founding fathers were all men, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
What does that have to do with the right to vote?
The right to vote was historically withheld from men of color. It was
It was also withheld from the general population.
Do not cut me off. Do not cut me off. I am in the middle of speaking.
I don't care if you're in the middle of speaking. You're in the middle of a debate.
The right to vote.
You don't have your TikTok mute button, sweetheart?
I will not be speaking anymore until you have a conversation with him.
Well, look, if we can, for both people, if we can allow each other to finish, even if you want to jump in, just let the other person finish speaking. If somebody's going on a monologue and they're filibustering, I'll try to get them to wrap up, but just if they're making a point, just try to let them finish.
No, I did not go to school for 4 years and build a platform to be talked to like this. So I will be walking away from the microphone right now, and I would encourage you to get your guest under control. I'm going to take 2 minutes so you can ask him questions if you'd like, and I will be right back.
Because you run the show.
restroom.
You go, girl.
And
I don't give a shit.
Look, this child, he reminds me of a little spoiled fucking baby's kid. His mom never told him, just let him do whatever. Like, go sit your little Dennis the Menace ass looking ass down.
Dennis the Menace. Yeah, for real. I mean, but that's his tactic. You know, that's what a lot of these people do. Guys, follow the
It's not
pattern.
even a tactic. He just acts like an unruly little child.
Exactly.
And she talked to him the right way.
Yes, she did. And people who walk away, you can kind of understand why they do it, because they don't want to put themselves through a lot of bullshit. But you kind of should know that going in. And a lot of people blame Matt Dillahunty, and they say that he was triggered and all this stuff by Wilson here. And I'll let you guys decide. So you'll check it out real quick. Let me go ahead and share it. You know, that's part of their thing. They love to trigger people with their annoying behavior.
Shit is sad. And they wonder why women reject them.
Right.
Like, we already have
Imagine
kids.
being
We don't
married
need
to
a
somebody
grown
like
ass
that.
boy. We don't need a grown ass man running around here like Dennis the Menace. Come on now.
For sure.
Seem to be the primary ones to assess reality and reach conclusions. Justice, fairness, equality, and autonomy are the primary goals. This life, not a hypothetical afterlife, is what we're trying to improve. So what happens when religions control societies and governments, either legitimate or illegitimate? Well, conflicts with other societies and other governments may not have any reasoned diplomatic solution. Need only look to Gaza. But that's Islam and Judaism. Here we have Christianity as a primary and Christian nationalism. Under secular humanism, you get to be a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, gay, straight, socialist, capitalist. You just don't get to impose those necessarily on others through acts of fiat. Not necessarily true with the religions in charge of the government. Mike Johnson's the new Speaker of the House of the United States. He's homophobic as all get out. He's argued to criminalize homosexuality. Homosexualities, by the way, are U.S. citizens with specific rights that he wants to take away. Moreover, he advocates for gay conversion therapy, which is unscientific and torturous, because he thinks he can help them pray the gay away and the gay can be eliminated. He's not anti-gay. He just wants them to cease to exist as gay. They get to keep being human beings. He thinks there's no right to sodomy. Privacy laws don't protect everything, and he thinks that what sort of sex you have, it should be his to regulate. Sodomy, by the way, is anal or oral copulation, which I have it on good authority, heterosexual folks engage in as well. 2022, he presented what was called the Don't Say Gay bill, outlawing any discussion of gender identity, sexual orientation, or related subjects, which was incredibly problematic because he ignored.
It makes me feel so uncomfortable when I'm sitting there listening, you know, like I ask myself, how the hell are we sitting here having a conversation about what someone does in their bedroom? That shit makes me feel weird, quite frankly.
Yeah, like why are people obsessed over what could be happening behind closed doors?
Right, you are so fucking weird. Like, what the hell?
Cringy. Yeah, weird shit, you know.
What the experts have to say about age-appropriate content and how critical it is, especially for kids under 10, which was his target, to have correct language in order to better report on and about sexual abuse. His policy, if it had been implemented, would have made it more traumatic for kids and more difficult for them to out their abusers and easier for abusers to get away with it, happily. In 2015, he blamed abortions and the breakup of the nuclear family for school shootings. He also says the teaching of evolution is to blame for mass shootings because we've taught a whole generation, a couple generations now, of Americans that there's no right or wrong, that it's about survival of the fittest. And if you evolve from a primordial slime, what is that life of any sacred value? He wants student-led prayer back in school. So, Speaker, are you okay with Islamic prayers, satanic prayers, or just particular Christian prayer? He's opposed to the separation of religion and government, sometimes called the separation of church and state. He thinks that the founders only wanted to protect the church from the state and didn't want to protect the state from the church, citing the notorious lying pseudo-historian David Barton to support this view.
So he just goes on and on to, with his opening, describing his issues with, Christian nationalism. I'm going to get right to, because we're going to run out of time. Let me get right into Andrew Wilson's rebuttal, or his opening, maybe.
All of you are way too stodgy in this room, very low energy. Just want to let all of you know that. Ladies and gentlemen of all pronouns, the Z's, the Zers, the hims, and hers, I would like to thank you for tuning in today for this exciting in-person conference on modern day debate. My name is Andrew Wilson. There's a few ways this debate could go. The topic is Christian ethics versus secular humanism, which has a better foundation. The funny thing is, I already won that topic because, as Matt explained to Jay Dyer, he has no justification under the skeptical belief structure to give an accounting for any meta-ethical presupposition he may have. He just kind of grants himself stuff. He grants himself logic, he grants himself reason, he grants himself an entire worldview, even though he's using an unjustified starting position for it. So I'm not honestly all that interested in doing the God not real dough debate because, one, it's boring, and two, it's also really boring. It goes like this. I don't see enough evidence and remain unconvinced there's a God. Then I say, but you use a theistic worldview of justification like there is a God to grant yourself logic and everything else. So instead of that, I'm just going to grant Matt's entire worldview. 2/3 or more of of this entire planet are all operating inside of a shared delusion that they were created by a sky daddy who loves him some slavery and murderousness. He thinks it's funny to kind of cosmically with people. That's his deal, kind of his whole thing. That's Matt's worldview.
No, that's actually your worldview, Andrew, because isn't that what they claim to be proud of?
Right. He just
the only reason atheists debates it is because they're the ones that brought that shit up.
Exactly. But notice his demeanor. He just looks so disgruntled and so bitter. Yeah. Look at he talking like this the whole entire time. Like fucking his whole face up. Like, why are you mad, bro?
Yeah. Of course. Man, let me keep this going.
So now Matt's right, and the question becomes, should we let them to continue to believe in this nonsensical Stone Age madness, or do we stop them from engaging in it? My contention is, even if God isn't real at all, that people acting as though he is still superior to whatever nonsensical egalitarian worldview Matt can come up with. See, Matt also just acts as though the things he believes are true. He believes, and therefore acts as though logic is real, math is real, everything is real based on his presuppositional belief that they are real. You see, human flourishing, the cornerstone of Matt's ideology and that of secular humanism, is totally meaningless. Flourishing by whose metric? From my perspective, for instance, attempting to lie to people who claim men can be women isn't human flourishing. From Matt's perspective, it is. Why? Why should the collective of humanity lie and say men can get pregnant? Why should they say that men can have periods? Things which are categorically and obviously false. That preserving homosexuality in society is good for human flourishing, even though they are reproductive dead ends. And that Western society and egalitarianism is superior to those evil theist society, even though the Western nations can't even reproduce their own populations, but instead...
That's a weird argument because it's
last
not like
last time I checked, we're overpopulated, aren't we?
For real. And homosexuals are not stopping me. they would not stop anyone from having kids, or they're just not having kids with them.
Right.
Like, there's enough women and men around that are interested in each other. There's been homosexuality at the beginning of time. What is he talking about?
Yeah.
Like, it's never.
That's one
humanity
of the
never disappeared.
Yeah, that's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. I just don't get that argument because it's really, really, really stupid.
Yeah, it's like creating a problem that really isn't there, and then coming with a solution for a no problem. Right.
Have to replace their population with foreigners from those theist nations that can reproduce. Let's start with a basic societal question recently asked of the West, who has now embraced a scientific and non-theistic approach to governing. Super basic question every kindergartner knows. If you don't believe me, go watch Kindergarten Cop. The question posed to the Western nation is, can a man be a woman? All right? To the question of if a man can be a woman, they say the answer is yes. And the way we will decree they can be a woman is by simply saying that woman now means male. Problem solved. Thank you, secular humanists. Thank you so much. Nope, not kidding. Why, you ask, would people be this over-the-top stupid? Well, it's simple. The good is the good, man. We have to do what's good for human society and human flourishing. And if you don't call these deranged lunatics something they obviously aren't, they might self-terminate. So in order to avoid that, we need to make everybody on planet Earth lie to them. This is human flourishing.
Everybody on planet Earth, right?
Redefine shit, pretend it's true. How laughably absurd this worldview is. Matt will often say, I remain unconvinced. Well, Matt, I'm also going to use your standard. I need for you to 100% convince me beyond a shadow of a doubt that males can have babies. What's the answer going to be? No, Andrew, you big stupid. Males can't have babies. Men can have babies. Because we just defined man to include females, dummy. Well, Matt, I remain unconvinced. I'd like Matt to convince me that if you are a male and you are having sex with another male, which would not be allowed in my version of a secular humanist worldview, how is it that you're not just basically having sex with a guy with a wig on? I really want to know the answer to that question. Not just me, but all rational people who aren't lunatics also want to know why it's ma'am isn't a complete and total crock of garbage. Because I remain unconvinced that it isn't a total lie, and that these people don't just pervert the language to include their own perversions and then add human flourishing at the end.
So how would you respond to that argument?
I would say we're talking about, what, 1% of the population?
Yeah.
What is it to you? How is that personally affecting you? If different lifestyles don't personally affect your life, what is it to you? At the end of the day, everyone is a human being and has rights, and that's all that matters. And if your rights aren't violated or infringed upon, why are you so worried about other people? That I keep seeing that with these people who have this superiority complex, who think they always need to intervene in nature. Don't you think that nature does what it does all on its own? I mean, reality can only be what it already is. You know, we don't need your interventions.
Exactly. And Om VV says it's tragic and comedic. All these cults are eating themselves. Yeah.
Pretty much. I hope so. I hope they eat themselves really fucking fast.
I would like to ask someone like Andrew Wilson, well, suppose all the negative things that you think are attributed to homosexuality and trans people, if we could take all the negative stuff away, would you still have a problem with it? That would be revealing.
Well, I want to say, though, you know, some of my friends who are gay males, they are so much more masculine. And I say that because they have this like natural instinct to protect me. Whereas a lot of so-called heterosexual men, like this motherfucker, you know, they put women down. And I think it's because gay guys and women alike, they see a side of males that heterosexual males don't experience. And so there's this bond and shared experience between women, trans women, and a lot of times homosexual men. And I will say that in my own experience, I know that's anecdotal. I have experienced that, gay males have had my back way more than heterosexual men.
Yeah.
Treat me really well. And they just know how to relate to some of our struggles. Whereas these types of males, they just seem completely disconnected from the female, and they wonder why a lot of females reject them, because they're unable to form connections. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Dave says, I find the LGBTQ people very valuable. Right. And how limiting it is to try to just get rid of a whole class of people because of something stupid. Shooting yourself in the foot.
Simulated sex acts in public were criminal offenses and would make sure that all people went to prison for the crime of indecency, which doesn't assist with human flourishing. And I'd like to know why I'm wrong. Secular humanism can basically be whatever the hell you want it to be. It doesn't really need the principle of freedom or the starting axiom of freedom and peace in order to postulate whatever it wants. It's sloganeering. They're slogans. They don't mean anything. Okay, why do 9-year-olds need to be able to have sex in order to advance humanity? Why do we need to lie about a person's sex in order to advance humanity? Why are these things necessary for human flourishing? Why are decency laws bad? Why would Christian ethics stop flourishing when the theist mandate is to reproduce and the secular mandate is let's just all have sex and have fun, bro? That sounds way worse for human flourishing. In fact, I would say not reproducing is the worst possible thing for human flourishing, because if there's no humans, how do you flourish? So I guess, in essence, step 1, I remain unconvinced. Step 2, I need to be convinced, so I'm no longer unconvinced. And step 3, but God not real dough doesn't matter here. I've already granted it to still demonstrate just how stupid this ideology actually is. With that, I'll yield my time, and I'm happy to get into it.
What were you going to say?
I'm just saying that's, I don't know the exact terminology for what he just did, but I think that might be a straw man, because that's not even happening. He's acting like this is some kind of post-war era and half of humanity has been bombed off the planet and there's only a few men left and they're all fucking each other.
We're in danger. We're in danger.
And it's like, oh no, we need to reproduce. Oh, what the fuck? Like, have you looked at how big cities look and shit? Like, people are literally sitting on top of each other and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you look out your door and you're like, hey, neighbor, your neighbor's right fucking there and shit. Like, if anything, we're like overpopulated.
Overpopulated. Exactly. Let's see what Matt does in return.
Hey, James, I just sent you a message.
All right. We are going to kick it into an open discussion, so 50 minutes, and let's kick it.
No, I don't think so. I'm not going to sit here and dignify the preparation that I went through and what people were here for.
You're so indignant.
Keep interrupting me.
I am. You're so indignant.
Would the moderator like to step in so that I can finish what I'm saying?
Please, Matt.
Just be quiet.
How dare someone have an opinion?
I'm not going to sit here and dignify what was supposed to be a debate about Christianity versus secular humanism, which one's better for the world.
Yes.
With someone who clearly showed up with an agenda that has nothing to do with that. Someone who refers to trans people as deranged lunatics who will self-terminate if you dare to question them.
How am I wrong, Matt?
Someone
you can't
who
shut up. You notice that?
misrepresents a quote from a debate where I said I wouldn't make a law about 9-year-olds having sex being legal with respect to the 9-year-olds, not that I was in any way in favor of it and that I was actually opposed to it, which I addressed during that debate. But moreover, this is not remotely an honest interaction on the front of whether or not secular humanism is valuable. Because this, when he presented his position here, has nothing to do with secular humanism. From the get-go, it's all about me. Matt thinks. I'm giving what Matt thinks.
Matt's position.
I came in with the Secular Humanist Manifesto. I came in with positions that aren't merely my position.
Oh, well, as long as multiple people hold the position,
this guy's not serious, and I'm leaving. James, if you want a refund, you
well,
let me know.
Good day, sir. And I'll cover your refund,
And he
Mr.
thinks
Matt.
he just
He
won
just said
the
he'd
debate.
cover my
I would
refund.
cover his refund.
No. Nope. Nope.
No, I'm not going to dignify a debate with someone who walked in to trash talk people and be smug and all of the things that he's being right now. He's already said he will cover my expenses. You don't have anything to worry about. This debate is over. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Jackass.
He's got to be an alcoholic.
Did you call me a jackass, Matt?
That's his tactic, man. That's what these people do. That's their thing. They have no. It's all about insults and humiliation and getting his. It's almost like Donald Trump type shit.
Something about his behavior screams alcoholism.
Yeah. It's hard to get along with people.
He's acting like an impossible drunk. I think he's drunk right now in that clip.
Exactly. And so, moving right along, so we can get through all of these, so we can get to these clips, I wanted to also just introduce Andrew Tate really quick.
How'd y'all like his outfit?
Oh, yeah, he very, very manly outfit.
Especially those granny shoes.
Yeah, granny shoes. He stole your auntie's shoes. That was funny. He stole my auntie's shoes.
Auntie TT shoes.
Yeah, Auntie TT. Me and my god brother Mark, we had an auntie. She's a black lady. Her name was we used to call her Auntie Pee Wee. He stole Pee Wee's shoes. She used to wear shoes like that. All right, let me play this motherfucker.
Years. I will run you through.
What's that in his hand?
Or I challenge you in duels. They're like, oh, I can't duel. I don't have a sword. You're a full-grown man. You ain't got a sword. So I'll walk around with a sword because I'm unconventional. I do not comply. The world at large has told you, watch Netflix, eat the bugs, watch Disney, don't have a sword, don't walk around with a sword. That's what they want you to do. Don't you understand? This is an act of rebellion. Like all of my life is an act of rebellion. I'm that guy who does whatever he wants. Right now, I want a cigar. Am I allowed to smoke on YouTube? Sorry. Did I just ask YouTube for fucking permission to smoke in my own house? I do what I want. Here's a funny story. After I got past 100K subs, I applied to get my plaque and they said no. YouTube said I'm not allowed one. Why? Too sexy? Too funny? Too cool? Who knows? So let me just go through my pockets. It's hard to find my cigars amongst all the money.
This is the disease of dualism in our society and materialism. It gets people to really try to ground their worth into
this
the
man's
shiny.
playing pretend, man.
It's a sickness, man.
He's playing pretend. This is like a performance, man. It's like back in the day when we were kids, we had this recreational room with a basket full of costumes.
Yeah.
And, we'd play dress up and run in front of our parents with a sword, and we're heroes now and shit. Like, this dude is straight up like still that little boy playing with his toys and playing dress up. Convincing himself, trying to convince himself that he's a masculine man.
And what did I say when I was talking about my own experience? What appeals to the little boys is to be able to do what you want. That's the sign of masculinity. That's the sign of being a man. I get to do what I want. And so for young boys who are trying to find themselves and trying to find themselves within the hierarchy of society, they compete and they want to be the big shot. They want to be the cool guy, the tough guy, the ego-driven guy. That's what everybody wants. That's why it's reflected in our music and entertainment and on this manosphere shit. It appeals to young people that want to do whatever I want, because when I can do whatever I want, that gives me validation as a human being. Instead of informing yourself of things that maybe you should want to really better your overall goals in life, you know. Of course, they're not given that information. It's all about, you know, do what you want, carry a sword, run them through, dominate the women, you know, beat your opponent. That's the whole message behind that shit. It's just that simple. You know, so I'm gonna play the rest of his bullshit and then we'll get on.
It's probably making a bit of noise on the microphone, but I do what I want. If you're unhappy with it, if you're unhappy with waiting for me to light a cigar, then leave the channel. I give a fuck about you. You're a peasant. You're a peon. You're a brokey.
Yeah, man, that proves it, man. I want to be like him. I don't want to be a peon. I want to be Andrew Tate. I want to have that attitude. That's all my life needs right now. That's what these followers feel in their heart when they hear people like that. Sad, but true.
Dude's still trying to emancipate himself from his parents mentally. This boy is stuck.
He's silly.
I do as I please.
Like, up yours,
and as a man who does whatever he pleases.
I'm doing it now.
I've analyzed.
I can eat all the Lucky Charms I want now that I'm out of the house.
The entire earth, all of it, and realized all of the world's problems. I've worked it out. I've deciphered. I'm about to tell you the root cause of every single problem in the world. So buckle the fuck up. Because just like every other Tate speech, you're going to be sitting there going, no way. And then by the end of it, you go, you know what? He might be right. Because I'm always right. So.
Be a human trafficker.
Why he got a crack lighter?
The root cause of all of the world's problems is basically that there's not enough men who walk around their houses with swords. There's not enough men like me who do whatever they want. We live in a time where the powers that be manipulate females through their emotionality to control weak men and control society.
Amen.
I want to say something here, and I hope this video doesn't get taken down for sexism, because I have a lot of love for females. Females are extremely important. They procreate, they create life. Females are beautiful, and they're kind-hearted. And I have nothing against women as a whole. In fact, I have a bunch of women.
Here we go.
So I like women. But females, let me get my wording correct here. Females.
My God, what a crackhead.
Are barely sentient. Even the good ones. In fact, especially the good ones. You're a good female. You grow up, you listen to your father. So you're about a teenager. Then once you're a teenager, you start watching the Disney Channel and Netflix. Then you listen to society. Start to break the rules, be a bit of a rebel. Now you listen to society. Then you meet a man. Now that's one of two men. He's either a strong-framed man or a weak-framed man. If he's a weak-framed man, you keep society's ideas. If he's a strong-framed man, you now adopt all the ideas of your man. Because any girl who's with a real G, they agree with his political stance. They agree with his music choice. As soon as they're with a man they love what he loves, right? Then they have children. What do they do with the children? They sit around and talk gobbledygook. Do, 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 do. And then they die. And the point is, when I say barely sentient, is that the female's entire life process, she never really thinks for herself. Like the reason I became so successful, the reason I'm so fantastic, It's because of my perspicacity.
His perspicacity.
Man, that dude put me to sleep.
Dude, people like that, he's saying nothing.
Absolutely fucking nothing. That shit is boring as hell. This dude has no personality. He has no inner core. This is literally a little boy playing make-believe.
Yeah, man. It's fucking
God,
crazy.
man.
You
Only
know,
in America.
only in America, you know, but
I think I'm gonna move to Italy, man. I've had enough of this shit.
Yeah. It's oh, and Bryce said he was sick this morning, couldn't make it.
Oh.
But I'm gonna play some of the clips from Marquette and stuff. So what I want to do is figure out which one we want to go over first, because we want to finish up what we were talking about with the Marquette character. But also, you had some interaction that we can go over. So what would you like to look at first? That interaction?
Yeah, we can go to that. Because my whole thing is that dude's a liar. All right. He straight up lies. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And so that interaction shows that he's a liar, and the whole thing about what he said about therapy. I mean, he's just a downright liar. And you would think that as a so-called leader, you should be, especially making money off of your followers, you should be telling them the truth, right? We can all agree on that.
Well, let me do this. Hold on 1 second. Whoa, 1 second. Because I thought something interesting was he gave us a really good lesson on love to a woman. And I just kind of wanted to open up with that part.
Get her down to that G-string, and then I start getting undressed. You dig?
You froze, Scott. Uh-oh. I think we're losing Scott. Let me see what's happening. Uh-oh. Are y'all seeing the same thing? Is everything frozen except for me? Uh-oh. Let me call him. Oh, yeah, it's just me now. Yeah, we lost Scott. So he's just going to show the clip about, I guess this is from a couple years back, and Marquette so-called gave lessons to Africans. I believe he was in Africa, if I'm not mistaken. And he was given lessons on how to properly, have sex. So that's the clip he wanted to show. And I'm sure he's going to come back on here any second now. And I guess I could look at you guys' comments. I can't believe this guy was the example of masculinity for so long. I know, right? That's crazy as hell.
Sorry about that. My connection ended quite abruptly.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, well, we lost Scott.
Did you
now
see
I
the
gotta
video?
look at my ugly face.
Were you able to see the video though, completely?
No, it's froze. It all froze up, so you have to
Let me play it again. That's weird. Maybe God didn't like me playing this.
Like to get her down to that G-string, and then I start getting undressed. You dig? And then I'll get down butt ass. I get butt ass. And I'm in there, getting that grind on. And that grind on, just getting her warmed up. Then, when you're kissing her, you real low key, you go ahead and reach for the strap. You pull the strap out. Oh my God! Kissing her. You can't slow the flow. Don't slow the flow. Keep going. Throw it on. As soon as you throw it on, then you get in there. Like to get her down to that G-string.
Oh my God. Hold on. Stop. Hold the fucking French toast door. We can't.
That's funny as shit. What the hell was he thinking? My God.
Teaching men how to have sex. Man, look, you guys that follow this Marquette guy, you guys are fools, man. You guys need to be taught how to be.
You gonna let another man tell you how to fuck? Come on now.
Come on now.
Wow.
Y'all letting other men tell you how to be men? Like, come on now.
Wow. Wow. Just wow.
Yeah, it's so fucking silly. So, anyways, I'm gonna get to the other one too. This one, the video you made with the lady. Is that what you want to play next?
I don't know. What do you mean with the lady?
Let me just.
Oh, the one about him and the 14-year-olds and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Births a child, she is a woman.
Even
She's a
if
woman.
she's
There's no going
14.
back. She's a woman.
Even if
right?
she was
Because
assaulted.
the reason. Okay, I'm going to answer your question. First off, we're not talking about assault. If she's assaulted, she should for sure terminate, because whoever did that to her is probably not a good person. We don't want to pass. So that's number one. We're going to set that aside. So if a female has willingly engaged in intercourse and then she ends up pregnant and she decides by her own decision to bring the child to term, she is a woman now at that point. What do I mean? The reason that we between a woman and a girl is so that we can protect the girls. Largely, we need to protect them from being taken advantage of, right? Mostly in the physical way. So if you've already had a child as a girl, you're now a woman. Why? Because now you need someone to take care of you. And a boy cannot take care of you. Only a man can take care of you. So it makes sense that we now open you up to men so that you can be taken care of rather than continue to be taken advantage of. You see, it's the difference between being taken care of and taken advantage of. Do you understand the point or no?
I don't believe that if a woman is if the girl is underage and she has a child, she is still a child. But other than that,
what part did you understand that I said? What part did you understand?
you said that if she has the baby, then she is the girl. The baby is the girl, and she's the woman, and she's a woman.
What?
That's what you said. You said that she is a woman, and she just had the girl, but they're both still
Had
girls.
the girl? Who? I didn't say had the girl. Where did you get that from? I never said that.
You just said that you're basically saying that
Get it right now.
once she has that baby, she is no longer a child. I'm telling you
Correct.
that that's
And
not.
do you understand why I said that?
Yes, but it's not. I don't at the same time because it doesn't make any sense. That's not how that works.
Wait, you said it
She's
doesn't
still a
make any
child.
sense? Hold on one
No,
second,
she's
dear.
still
You said what I said does not make sense.
No, she's still a child. If a child has a child, it's just two children. It's just one is younger than the other. Like it's
Okay,
still a child.
So here's the problem. You're not a thinker. I'm one of the greatest of thinkers, and you're not a thinker. But you have no awareness that you're not a thinker. So it would make most sense for you to be here trying to learn, but you're not inclined to learn because you're unruly like your mother. Now, let's just expose that you're not a thinker. Here we go. Explain to me what makes a female a child versus a. Explain to me.
Okay. A woman is a grown woman, 18 plus, even though 18 is still
Okay,
kind
so
of rocky,
18.
but
Okay, 18 plus makes you an adult, right? Okay.
yes. And a
So
girl
why
is-
18? Wait, hold on. Why 18?
because that is the legal age. That is the
Why is that the
that's when
legal
you become
age?
an adult.
Why is that the legal age?
Because that's what they say. That's how you
Who's
turn.
they?
when you become
Who's
an
they?
adult.
Who's
the
they?
government, the world. I don't know what you want me to say. I mean, that when you're
Okay,
18,
so
you're
if
legally
the
an adult.
if the government says it, then it's right. Is that what you're suggesting?
Definitely not. I don't believe
Okay.
that 18 should be the adult age. I think it should be 21 plus, but legally, 18
But
you're
you
an
just
adult.
told me 18 is the reason that she's an adult, and you said it's because the government. So now will you admit that you don't make sense, or you just want to carry on and pretend you do make sense?
I do make sense. 18 is the legal age. That's when you become
Yes,
an adult.
I understand that, and I'm asking you, well, why is that the legal age that you become an adult, as opposed to 19 or 20 or 10? Like, why 18? What's the magic?
You're gonna have to ask them. I don't.
No, I'm
believe
asking
that.
you because you're the one. You must believe it because you just said. I said, what makes you an adult? And you said age 18. And I said, well, why? Are you noticing that you've never thought about anything you believe in? You believe it, but you never thought about why. That's why you hate people like me, because I'm challenging you to think. And it's like your brain is getting exhausted because you've never thought before. This is the first time you've ever thought. Actually, it's the second time, because I asked you earlier, I said, why did you interrupt me? And you couldn't even explain why you interrupted me, because you couldn't move your brain to think. All you do is repeat what liberal whites have told you.
Wow.
Yeah, this is very problematic because number one, I'm pretty sure we define 18 as the legal age because that's, generally speaking, that's when a woman's body is fully mature. So just because a girl started her period doesn't mean her body's fully developed. So the dude's a fucking retard, first and foremost. My daughter is 10 and she just had her first, period. And she still looks like she's 10. She's still a child. And her body is not yet developed, even though she's had her first period. So are you telling me that a child is an adult because she had her first period? Because that's what he's trying to say. So anyway, when he said that, if a girl decides to have sex, right? Then if she decides to have that baby, then she's a woman now. And I'm like, first of all, if she decides to mess around with a boy her age, then I can understand that, right? But usually that's not the case. Young girls who end up pregnant oftentimes end up pregnant because an older guy impregnated them. And so in that case, we're talking about SA, right? And she didn't actually, there's no consent when you're underage. And as far as her deciding in either one of those scenarios, as far as her deciding to have that baby is also a fallacy because she's underage. So that decision is largely based on what the parents and the doctors decide, not the child. So then he says, oh, and if someone did SA that child, she should definitely terminate it. But she's a woman now, and now we open her up to men, even though she's only 13 or 14, because now she needs to be protected from predators. So we open her up to men and let her get married to a man. Like, what about her parents? Why does she need to be in a marriage with an older man to be protected? Why can't she be protected by her community or her parents or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, this
you can see his intention is bad. It's like he's just trying to be a shock person because, a lot of stuff you can talk about really anything. I mean, you don't have to be off limits to certain topics. Logan says lowest age threshold, age 15. Iran applies differently based on gender definitions in civil and criminal laws. Age 16 is like Cuba, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Myanmar.
Right.
North Korea is 17.
But in some of those countries, even if you're considered a legal adult, they also have laws against adults that are significantly older than the younger adults. So we can't leave that out. And I'm not saying that's in all of those countries, but I know there are some countries where the legal age is a bit lower, but also it has to be proportionate. You can't be some 40, 50-year-old man going after a 17-year-old just because that 17-year-old is considered an adult. So they still have guardrails in place for those things too. And it's not just based on the human body anyway. Like, I don't know why we reduce everything to that.
I want to play that video of Marquette responding to you let's see if I have it. Is that his course price and GoFundMe? Longer clip, short clip. Oh,
It's
my
link,
video.
and then you have to go pretty much towards the end of it where it's at. It's like the last segment of my video.
Let me,
But I mean, does that make anyone's hair stand up that this guy who has all these followers and stuff, like, how does the audience feel about this dude? Like, I think this clearly shows that he is definitely a danger to society because he's promoting that an underage girl is a woman if she decided to be sexually active and get pregnant and have that child. And then she needs to be opened up to an adult male because a boy can't take care of her. Like, is that not disturbing? Yeah, like Nell said, that's a fucking predator. Like, this is what you're following. And I want people to wake the hell up. Stop following these people blindly, because the shit that he puts out there, if you follow him, you will be associated with that. Like, this dude's hard drive needs to be checked.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. It's crazy work, man. It's really crazy work. And that's why we're doing the show. It got a lot of eyeballs from the Marquette followers and people like that. So I thought we would actually expose a lot of these guys, and not just Marquette, because they are dangerous. They are just dirt bags, man.
And they'll say we're haters. We don't have enough money. We're brokies. You know, they'll say all this crap, but no, we're talking about this because it's dangerous. That's what's dangerous to our society. This dude talking about Marquettism saves lives. Marquettism is about the kids. How is it about the kids when you sitting here advocating for underage girls that they're women? That's not protective of kids. That's the opposite. Like, stop following this guy, man. Yeah, man.
I mean, it's good to have men out there trying to be helpful and use their platform to help young people. I'm all for it. But this isn't it, though. This isn't help. This is helping them. They're just trying to be shock jocks so that they can get likes and subscribers and do business. That's their whole thing. And,
not only that, he's building this whatever compound that he calls the Burton Plantation, where he's giving plots to his followers. This dude's trying to build a physical cult, an environment where they can practice this type of lifestyle. This is a literal attempt at creating a cult, exactly. With money. This man ain't he's the real deal. He ain't just some clown. He's actually putting these things in action.
Yeah. So what timestamp should I play that video?
I guess I didn't give you the timestamp, so just like kind of
I'll fish around for it. Yep, let's check it out.
Die. In the same way, you claim that all you need go up.
What's that?
Go up a little bit more.
Well, Sophia, I don't know if you just showed up.
Oh yeah.
All right, now back it just a little bit.
Yep.
Girls, men don't need to deal in love. That's for girls, for Disney movies. Stop it. Knock it off. Come on now. This person writes, what about disagreements? Will those comments be removed?
That's me.
Sophia, I don't know if you just showed up. This will be the 4th time I said it.
Yeah, guys, that was me. I was in the chat. And just to give a little context, I have the screenshots to prove this. I was in the chat and I heard him go on his little rant that he just went on. And I didn't agree with that. And so I did notice, though, that in the comment section, in the chat, in the live chat, all the comments that weren't praising Marquette or agreeing with Marquette were removed instantly. Anyone that had anything contrary to say or whatever was immediately removed. And at first I was like, okay, what's happening to these comments? Are they just disappearing? And so I wanted to make sure that if I did say anything in disagreement, would it be removed? Because that's the impression I was getting as I was watching the chat. And so I asked that question. what about a disagreement? If I have a disagreement, will that be removed? So that's what he's responding to right there.
The live chat is not for debate. It's not for disagreement. It's not for your negativity. If you have a meaningful objection or a meaningful point, we will come on and express yourself.
Okay, and so I would say that I did have a meaningful disagreement, but I never got the chance to say it because my comment was also immediately removed. And he said, hey, if you have a disagreement, it's meaningful, we'll send you the link. Not sure why he would automatically describe a disagreement as negativity. I mean, debate and discourse and such is how we bring things to the surface. We discuss things, right? It's not necessarily negativity. But according to Marquette, anything that doesn't agree with him 100% is negativity. So let's watch him lie, because he's about to lie again. That seems like his thing, lying.
I have no problem with people saying, hey, I have an alternative perspective, and I really feel what I feel. I'm not trying to get clout, but I have an alternative perspective, and I want to share it. We'll hear you out. But our comment is not.
Also, I want to say, I don't deal in feelings. This isn't about feelings. This is about the facts. We're dealing with the nature of reality, the biological and scientific facts of reality. All right, just to make that clear.
Place where, or excuse me, the comment section is not the place where you spew your negativity. Sorry, that's not what it's for. And she wrote, why? You don't get an explanation as to why. That's not what it's for. You see, and that's what women need to understand. When you're in a man's house, it's his rules. You don't say, why are these the rules? You abide by the rules or you get out of the house. So now you understand the rules of this house. You don't like the rules, you can leave and get out of the house.
Amen, brother. Amen. You're right. He's absolutely right. And he didn't read the comment I said after that. I said very politely, thanks for explaining that. Understood. And I left the house. And now we're in my house. And now I'm going to say whatever the fuck I want to say. Okay. So he's right. I respected his rules. I said what I said. That comment was removed. I find that interesting. And I have the screenshots of my comments that are no longer in there.
Or you can abide by the rules. And that goes for everyone in the house. Everyone. I even try to follow my own rules, you see. But now you have the answer that you were seeking. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Carrying on. And gentlemen, that's how you break it down. You don't have to
explain. Now he lied again. He about to lie again.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes the lie. Just watch.
You could, but it's not always necessary. Now, carrying on. You guys will notice people feel so strongly about what they have to say. As soon as I say, come on and express it, then quiet as a church mouse. And what that lets you know, is that they really don't believe in what they're saying. They're not serious about what they're saying. They're trolls.
Okay, you heard what he said, right? They don't really believe in what they're saying. When I invite them to come on, they're quiet as mouse. They're trolls. So, is that what you think I am, a troll? You think I don't believe in what I've been this person forever, right? This is me. Secondly, or thirdly, why you didn't show the comment where I said, oh, well, that's not true. At least not when it comes to me. Send me the link. I'd be happy to come on. The link was never dropped. My comment was removed. Thankfully, I screenshotted those comments before it was removed. He lied. So he tried to make it seem to his own audience like I just came in there trolling, that I'm probably just a bot, that I don't believe anything I say myself. And when I was offered to come in there, I, of course, was quiet as a mouse. But that's not actually what happened. He saw those comments and pretended like they didn't even come in, and pretended like I just disappeared once I was challenged to come in there. And the truth is, he suppressed those comments and he created his own little narrative, and I never was sent a link. So he's a liar.
Yeah, I want to show those links.
Sorry,
just so people seeing this.
Screenshot.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull them up.
Just that one where I circled what I said, that I said I would come in, but yeah, he never dropped the link with his lying ass.
Yeah, and I've got like a bunch of screenshots here. I got to figure out which one is the one we want.
It's the one. It's gonna look black because I have my phone set on dark mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I circled it with pink.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that just goes to show you, if he's such a transparent guy, he's got moderators in his chat that are on it, right? Anything you say in disagreement, it gets removed. He creates his narratives as he goes along while his moderators are controlling the chat. And it's an echo chamber for sure, and it is what it is. That's how they operate.
Right there. I would totally come on. So something in about me, at least.
It says
not true about me, at least. Yeah. You wanted to come on.
Yeah, I was ready to come on. I caught his live by pure accident. It popped up on my timeline, and I wasn't even subscribed. And I was like, damn, I can't even comment. So I subscribed so that I can comment, and I had to wait 20 minutes before I could. And then I commented, and that's what happened. And he lied about it.
Yeah.
He's a liar, and he just downright makes false statements. He claimed that therapy has a 0% success rate, which on that video, if anyone wants to check it out, it's on my channel as well. I broke it down that that's a complete lie, but you got to think about it. He relies on those same tactics, what we refer to as talk therapy, which literally scientifically is proven to change your neurons in your brain. And he relies on that very process to get people to follow him. And he quite literally brainwashes them. But then he tells the audience, oh, therapy don't work. That has no success rate.
Yeah, he uses the same methods.
Yeah,
that's the thing. The brain is very malleable, and your conscious experiences actually have a top-down causation factor onto the physical brain, so that when you learn new things, practice new things, you create new pathways, neural pathways. And the stronger they are, the easier it is to think about them, and the more automatic those responses and behaviors become. And so it's like when you ride a bicycle. At first, it's very awkward, but when you get used to it and you ride enough and you practice enough, you're riding a bike without even thinking about it. You're not even conscious of the fact that you're pushing down the pedals and doing all the things with your hands and the balancing act. It's a very, very intricate performance when kids ride bikes. It's very, very, you'd be very surprised to know how much goes into riding a bike effectively, but you do it without even thinking at a certain point. So it just lets you know that your conscious experiences can embed themselves into your brain physically. Your physical brain is malleable like that and can be trained. And, so yeah, that's how the brainwashing works. That's how people fall for the Andrew Wilsons and the Andrew Tates and the Marquettes. They listen to this stuff enough. They get addicted to listening to it. They like what they see. Maybe they think the people, their speaking ability is captivating. They look up to these people emotionally. And so everything they say registers symbolically in their little brain. And they create these new neural pathways to act like them, to behave like them, to adopt all of their philosophy and all of their thinking uncritically. you know, because that's just how they've trained themselves to be. Just like with therapy, that's what they try to help you with therapy, overcoming fears and blocks and stuff like that in your mind. Is they'll oftentimes tell you to practice certain things. They'll maybe give you some homework. I went through it. I used to go through therapy years and years ago for my own issues to change out of my crazy behaviors. And so what I had to do was try different things and practice it enough to where it got my brain trained into a whole other way of thinking and behaving. And so it works. I know it works. It's 100% works. So this is something you should understand going into listening to anybody. Are these people why would they do this? Well, if you look at someone like Marquette and really all these people make a lot of money. They're motivated by money.
Mm-hmm.
When you keep that in mind, then you can get a better perspective of why they're saying the things that they're saying and why they're doing it the way they're doing it.
Just look at how much his courses cost. His courses are seriously expensive. Like they cost, I checked this, they cost way more than the average course when you go through a higher education school, you know, or university. And you have to ask yourself, this dude graduated with a political science degree, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But he's, you know, over here selling courses that aren't actually his profession, but he will claim it is anyway, and charging more than some of the biggest higher education universities. So why would his courses be so much more expensive? Who the hell is he? And he always makes it seem like his information, especially in his courses, especially, are so unique and so different. He even tries to set himself apart from the Manosphere. He says Marquettism is different, it's unique, it's better, it's superior, you know. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, you know. I mean, some of his courses are almost $1,000. He even has one called what is it, mother-wife course.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really funny when I saw it. I'm like,
and you got to think about the irony of that. How the fuck is a man gonna teach a woman how to be a mother and a wife? Do you know what?
Yeah, I mean,
do you know what it feels like to breastfeed a baby?
Well, I did write a book on it.
Do you know?
I wrote a book on how to deal with the first 9 months of pregnancy, and the one thing that I mentioned was you're gonna feel pressure, you know, and you're gonna have. No, I don't know why my book didn't sell.
Isn't that what we call mansplaining? Like you're gonna explain to me how the fuck I need to be a woman? That's crazy as hell. Man, this shit is all whack and crazy. I'm done with the topic. I don't even like. I've seen enough. And you know, I knew when you look hard enough, it was gonna come out. It's always that shit about underage girls that comes up in these spaces. Same with Andrew Tate. That man downright told on himself, and there's a viral clip that went viral where he basically admitted that he messed with like a 15-year-old or something. Mm. And you know, he's going down for human trafficking. It's always the same shit with these people. They're perverts. They're perpetually stuck in adolescence. And that's probably why they're attracted to young girls, because they never grew the fuck up. And they are basically just men who want a lot of money so they can do whatever the fuck they want, even if it's morally and ethically completely wrong.
And dude, all of these techniques that he's going to teach you supposedly in his books or their books or whatever is readily available for free anywhere else. Like I've learned the art of manipulation and high pressure sales for free. When I worked for Wyndham, I had a real estate license and I was selling property in Las Vegas. And I went and took a course on how to sell very expensive property items to people who didn't have that much money.
Yeah, and this guy don't even want you to comment unless you fucking pay him some money. He doesn't even normally read any comments unless they're super chats, and he gets paid. Hell, you can't even make a suggestion in his comment section. There was one person that said, "Hey, can you do like a index for the debates? It would make it easier to find or whatever." And instead of him saying, "Hey, that's a good idea," because that would help his channel if people can more easily access his content. But instead, this moron says, "Well, are you subscribed? Did you pay the fee?" You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude is all about extraction. All about extraction. That's all he cares about is extraction. And I'll give him that. He's good at doing that. He really is, because he's done raised $70,000. He's using GoFundMe to crowdfund his institution. You know, I mean, he's definitely a good extractor. I'll give him that. He's a good hustler.
And hey, you know, that's a skill set, and it's something that I will say, on one hand, it's not illegal. It's not necessarily a moral issue unless it's unless you're tricking somebody or making false promises or claims. Then it becomes an ethical issue. But that's why, you know, like a lot of people were commenting, "Oh, you guys are haters. You don't like seeing a successful black man, and you just have to tear him down." It's like, no, if you'd have paid attention to the video, we give credit where credit's due. When he was handling himself good in a debate, like with those, you know, Christian white nationalist guy or whatever, we were saying how good he was at the debate. He was saying the right thing and everything. But we're going to give you feedback. If you're going to come on a public platform and teach nonsense and mix a little bit of lies with your good points, we're going to call it out and notice it to the benefit of others. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it's all about. Yeah. And yet, OMVV says they call it neuroplasticity. Self-identity opens the movement. Right. Neuroplasticity. That's what it's called. The brain, very plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all natural stuff.
And I'm not an expert at that, and I'm not passing myself off as an expert. This is just information that you can obviously look up. And I knew that shit was bullshit when he sat there and said that, you know, therapy has a 0 success rate and all that stuff. Because I know I was diagnosed with PTSD many, many years ago, and I've practically overcome that fully, you know, and so I can attest by that. And I know that it works. And I just knew immediately that it's just another one of his tactics to get people to disregard their own conscious mind, because those are the ones you can most easily manipulate. And that's why he would tell people that, because if you actually get your mind right, you're not going to listen to somebody like him.
Right. And, you know, those are natural born enemies. The self-help movement is obviously in competition with, you know, secular therapists in therapy and psychology, and because those are real sciences. Those are things that go all the way back to like Carl Jung, you know, the first psychologists and people that put the work in to understand the human mind and everything and how it works intricately, and to talk about things and handle it a certain kind of way. But then you have these grifters, they call them the self-help movement. They're the people that are thought leaders or coaches, kind of like, you know, Tony Robbins type of people. You know, they're here to help, you know, either men or women or those who are suffering from a certain, you know, maybe a weight problem, weight loss problem, or whatever. You have all these self-appointed gurus and coaches and life coaches, and that stuff is all just a racket in many cases. A lot of that are just racket. And they're always going to talk down about professional therapy because that's their competition. Right. They're going to say, don't go to those professional, those god-awful people that actually study the mind and the brain. Don't talk to those people. They're just there to take your money. And what they don't understand is your psychologist going to set up therapy sessions with a psychologist is way much cheaper than buying these $100 courses and books from someone like Marquette and paying to hear his rubbish on fucking YouTube
and
streams and paying all that big money.
Yeah, and it's just sad. It's sad. What makes it so sad, what he's doing is he had a special opportunity somewhere down the line. I believe he was raised by his grandmother, who instilled a lot of his ideologies into him because he references his grandmother a lot. So, you know, he somehow got out of the hood. He made something of himself. And, you know, that's commendable. I'm not saying that that part is bad or anything, but, you know, he's the type of guy that, oh, I went and made something of myself. I was able to help myself. I learned a few tricks here and there. I went to a really good school. And instead of truly helping the community, he comes back and he exploits his own. And those are the types that you call a head slave, because you're using the very system, right, that you are so against what he does, like white supremacy and all this kind of stuff. But you literally learn the playbook and you're repeating it, you're copying it and using it on your own people, you piece of shit. And that's exactly what he is, a piece of shit for that. And I hope he hears this one day. Fucking asshole. Fucking asshole.
Right. And Nell says, while it's good to shed a light on the manosphere, we need to remember, much like Trump, this movement is due to a deeper underlying societal issues. People like to focus on the symptoms and forget to look underneath. And yeah, that's a really good point, Nell. And that's kind of why we're doing the show, because we're trying to start off with looking at these symptoms and looking at the behavior of these folks and what they're doing. And then we're trying to kind of lead into what are the possible problems in society. And to me, from my perspective, it really all comes down to greed, selfishness, me versus them, tribalism, echo chamber mentality, victim blaming, shaming, all plays a role.
Right, but even that has an underlying cause, you know, and I think that's because we're not practicing non-duality. We are caught up in this dualism.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that non-duality could bring us closer to something more like unity. All this division between men and women and all these different ideologies. I mean, obviously that's the oldest trick in the book, conquer and divide. And it's that works because people are dualists.
Yeah.
And I think we would benefit from being more non-dualistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And you've got so many people out here fighting against non-dualism and trying to talk you into why dualism should be favored. Well, because it's so intuitive. You know, we obviously see me different than you. You know, let's embrace that's just the truth. That's just the way it is. And so to deny dualism, they think, is denying reality. And that's not what non-dualism is.
No, it's just about finding a common denominator, you know?
That connects everybody, you know, ontologically, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, you can even embrace that even if you aren't an idealist or, like myself, a mystic. You know, you don't have to be any of that. You don't really have to be religious or spiritual or any of that. It's just, it's kind of common sense, right? If there's common ground, if there's compromise and things like that, you get better results, obviously. I mean, these people are still like in the Stone Age, survival of the fittest. Okay, but if you're so fit, right? If you're this alpha male and you're so fit, why do you rely on everyone else to keep you that way?
Right. It's because, you know, everybody loves and, you know, tribalism is fun. That's the other thing we have to acknowledge. Tribalism is fucking fun. You know, when I go to my friend's house to watch the fights, he's got pay-per-view. we are all getting into our team and our guy. I'm voting for this guy to win. This guy is a much better fighter than that guy. And we're just in there having a great time, you know, drinking beer, talking shit, getting into the game, getting into the fight, you know, and it's like, it's fun. I get it, but I keep it in its place. I keep it in its place. I understand that ultimately we're all one. We're all humans. We're all part of nature. We're not outside of nature. We all depend on each other and everything else that we're a part of. So I think that's a very helpful way if you take it serious. If you take that really serious, it can really change your behavior and the way you interact in the world. You can still enjoy the games, the dualism. You know, you still find a lot of meaning in life. You can still do science. You can do all the things that dualism seems to intuitively appear to us as. But, you know, I don't know. By being stuck in it, it's just going to lead to these kind of problems.
When you get caught up in the practical duality to that extent, you get exactly what we see right now. It's essentially a narcissistic system where it's all about extraction and there's no real connection. There's a complete disconnect from one another, which leads to lack of empathy, right? You can no longer relate to the next person. You no longer feel responsible to your brother or your neighbor. And all of that causes this huge breakdown where everyone thinks they're just an island. And that's what causes the depression, the loneliness, and all of that shit. Like, it's because we're too caught up in the practical reality, as if that's all there's to it. That's why I was saying early on in the show, I was telling Dave, if there's nothing else to you other than your biology, you will perpetually be a victim or a slave to your own biology, right? But if there's anything else present that can overcome that, then why don't you also incorporate that? Why don't you also focus on that? And it seems like there's a lack of people doing this in the West. We just disregard that other part of ourselves that can overcome those things, or at least find a balance, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. You know, and it's important to clarify that non-dualism does not mean that everyone is identical, that differences do not matter or conflicts just disappear. Like, you know, I was, you know, one person made a comment that, you know, but, you know, as a non-dualist, should you really get involved in a lot of this bigotry stuff and the stuff you and Sophia are talking about? And he was saying, that's why on my channel, I don't really get into that. You know, I think that it's better to stay away from, you know, we need to make the world better, not worse.
Yeah, but how else do you do
like,
that?
But wait a minute. I was like, but you do understand that some of the biggest non-dualists, like, you know, so many non-dualist figures in history, like, I can't think of his damn name. I was just talking about it to the guy. You know, he stood up for oppression in the caste system in India, and
Gandhi.
Gandhi. Yeah. You know, he addressed all kinds of inequities and stuff in a nonviolent way, but he addressed it. He went out, he spent a lot of energy and focus to bring up the ugly side of society that he saw, and he talked about it. And that's what we're doing. Now, we're not advocating violence.
You can't just stick your head in the sand. Like, if you're gonna preach non-duality, you also have to talk about how you can apply it. Because if you're not doing that, you're just talking, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not doing that, you're just saying, oh, I'm a non-dualist. But is that true? If you're not actually applying it to your life, and if you're going to talk about it and you don't talk about how you apply it to life, then it's just talk, right? So we are still in this practical reality, and we can't practice non-duality unless we practice it in this reality, right? So we can't just stick our head in the sand and be like, oh, well, we're above that. You know, that's the problem with a lot of these spiritual communities, because they so all of a sudden they're so spiritual and so enlightened that they can no longer politic with the ones who are not as enlightened, and all of a sudden they're all above that shit. And I'm like, nah, that makes you a freaking hypocrite.
Well, I was told that we were just adding to the division rather than.
No, we're not adding to the division. Pointing out that grown men should leave girls alone, that's not adding to the division. Pointing out that you shouldn't exploit your followers financially, even though it might be legal, that's not adding to division. So if you think that adds to division, well, maybe you're one of those people who wants to continue to be that way. Maybe that's the problem.
Exactly. And, you know, it's how I like what you said. You know, what good is it to have a perspective and a philosophy if there's no practical benefit to it? You know, it's like, if it's just good for me, well, that's great. But if I know also it can be good for others, why not try to, you know, if I'm truly taking it serious that I want to protect myself from, you know, being unskeptical or being delusional or how to fall into mental traps. Well, if I see you as me, then I should want to educate you also, right? Like, that's the whole thing. If I'm seeing us as a big family, then I want to share this.
Educate anyone. I can just share my experiences and relate to others, and that's all it's about. I'm relating to people who may be facing similar struggles that I've went through in life, and so all I'm doing is I'm sharing my experience. I'm telling you, hey, I've been there. I know what it feels like. It's called compassion. It's called community. All the things that used to be sacred, that for some reason we don't see as sacred anymore. And I think that's a problem, because that causes me to suffer too, as well as someone else, right? And I don't want to suffer because of lack of community. I don't want to suffer because we're so divided. I would like to be peaceful. I would like to obtain peace and some sort of happiness. Like, everyone wants happiness, right? We're not islands. And so when I get passionate about these things, it's because I've experienced it. You know, I'm not just reading from some book. I'm not just talking out of the side of my ass. I have seen the damage of these things. I was in a cult for 10 years. My own dad was literally the exact type of man like Marquette. You know, I've been through horrendous abuse and financial exploitation and whatnot. I've been through all this stuff. I'm really speaking from experience here. You know, it's my passion, because I feel like all the suffering that I went through didn't really need to happen. And it would not have happened if my father's mental health would have been addressed, for one. So when you have a man like Marquette running around saying therapy doesn't work, that rubs me the wrong way, because he wouldn't have slipped. He slipped through the cracks. He didn't get help, mental health. He had dissociative identity disorder. He ruined a lot of people's lives, not just me or my siblings, but a lot of people. These type of people who are mentally unwell and extract and destroy and use dominance and control, they hurt a lot of people. You know, it's bad. Like, it's bad. Just, it's bad. That's all I can say. And with that being said, I mean, whoever has an issue, you know, they don't have to listen. And I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm just freely sharing my experience and hope that, you know, at the end of the day, I can help somebody who may feel like they have no one to turn to, or like they don't know anyone that went through what they went through. It's all about having compassion for one another as human beings. That's all I got to say.
That's right. That's why God made you toots, man. So we can toot our own horns out here, and everybody's doing it. So why not? And Nell says, this is a trap people fall into when looking into Eastern philosophies like non-dualism. they end up believing the only thing that matters is looking inwards and end up forgetting about the outside world. And I've seen that a lot of people criticize Buddhism for that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't like Buddhism or certain types of Buddhism for that reason.
Yeah, but you know, on the other hand, you know, early this year, there was a bunch of Buddhist monks who marched all the way from Texas to Washington, D.C. over the wintertime in order to bring awareness and bring peace to America. That was their whole thing. And it's ironic how all the Christians came out and were like shouting them down from bullhorns, like trying to tell them to stop, that they had no right to say these things or be this way. They didn't need this devil worship in America anymore or whatever. So it's like, so they criticize the Buddhists for not doing anything, but then when they finally do, then they're mad about that too, because they're spreading their hate or demonic beliefs or whatever. It's like, anyways, I thought that was interesting.
Hey, but if it at least inspired a few people, at least it did something, a little something, you know? And that's how I kind of see what we're doing. You know, we're not here to convince nobody, but hopefully we can inspire at least a few people, you know, because we already know we're going to get pushback because this is just not the way of the world. That's just not the way of the West. So we already know people are going to give us pushback. But hey, all you can do is try. I mean, everybody has to have some kind of purpose, I think. I guess. Maybe not. I don't know. But it is what it is, y'all. I don't really know what else to say. I'm running out of steam here.
And Richie Presto, I was telling a little bit about him. He's an old friend of mine. He's someone who's an entrepreneur. I met him out in Los Angeles, and he wants to help people. He wants to make a change. He wants to do things. And he's had a very interesting story. So he had just got with me and said he'd be interested to come on our show, Sophia, and maybe we talk to him about a lot of this stuff and things. He'd be interested in maybe you picking his brain on that, he said. So I told him, yeah, come on through. He said he's going to check it out maybe next week. He said he'd be able to maybe jump on our live stream.
It's just, you know, there's so many other channels I would like to come on to, especially like OE. He's like, hey, Sophia, you know, come on. But I noticed that he does a lot of his shows in the evening, and I work evenings and nights. And as long as it's early, you know, like we do our show, but, you know, right now I am a sole provider and I got to do what I got to do. So I don't have time, afternoon, evening, or late hours. You know, that's when I work.
Right. Okay. Well, look, we've gone on for about 2.5 hours. I think we've treated this topic pretty thoroughly. If anyone has any comments on the show, anything we said, anything like that, feel free to leave comments in the live. I mean, not the live chat, but leave comments in the comment section. Again, I think it's a hot topic. So if you're interested, man, leave some comment. I'm sorry no one really called in much today. I thought we'd get more people to call in.
It's a sad topic. It's an ugly topic, but
yeah, it is.
We got to talk about it.
Yeah, we were just trying to bring it up and talk about it. But all right, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it here and get on out. But
bye, everybody.
Yeah, you guys have a good one. Thanks for coming through. Like and subscribe. Join the community.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll do it again next weekend. Y'all be good.